Everybody, Tara here, and welcome to day 2 of my Handmade Halloween card series. Today I'm going to show you how to make an entire set of cards using the MISTI stamping tool to make it a nice, fast process. So I'm going to use this Around the Edge stamp set by Dylusions, as well as that Haunted House set from Unity Stamp Co., one of my favorite stamp companies. And then I'm going to use my lovely MISTI tool here. So this is a stamping tool that is designed to help you re-stamp in the exact same location over and over and over again. So this is the first time that I've used it to create an entire set of cards, and I gotta tell you, it was pretty easy. I made 6 cards in about an hour and a half, which is not too shabby at all, in my opinion. So what I'm doing first is I'm taking that checkered sloped hill stamp from that Around the Edge stamp set, and I'm just stamping it on the bottom of some watercolor cardstock, and I'm using VersaFine Black Onyx pigment ink. And the reason I'm doing that is because, as you just saw there, I'm going to clear heat emboss on top of all of my black stamping, and that's going to help me later when I create my background. So I'm just going to show you a couple of these cards and show you how easy it is to put that cardstock in the exact same place as last time, ink that stamp up again, and restamp it, and boom, everything's right where it needs to be, and you just can go through these like just really quickly. And so I did this step on all 6 cards, and I'm showing you the last one here. And that watercolor cardstock is Canson XL Cold Press Watercolor Cardstock, and this right here is going to demonstrate for you what happens when you use the other side of the cardstock. So I normally use the smooth side, and this is the more textured side, and you could see I went ahead and stamped that twice because it's harder to get a clear impression on the textured side. But that's another bonus of the MISTI, is that you can restamp and it goes exactly where it was the last time, so it's perfect. So now I'm just going to wipe off my stamp here, and I'm going to take the Haunted House from that Unity Stamp Co. set, and I'm going to position that where I want it, and then I'm going to peel the back off. Unity is red rubber stamps. They're amazing, and they come mounted on the cling foam. You just have to peel the back sticker off and then mount it on your acrylic block or your MISTI, as the case may be. And now I'm going to take a mask that I made of that ground, and I'm just going to pop that right on top of my cardstock there. Each of these pieces of watercolor cardstock was cut out using the stitched rectangle die from Lawn Fawn. So just so you know that. I used my Inka Dinka Doo stamping mask paper to create that mask, and now I'm just going to ink this stamp up, and I'm going to go ahead and squish that on there. Now this is a really big solid stamp, and I want to get a really good solid image, so that's great that I'm doing this on my MISTI, because every single time I do this stamp, I'm going to stamp it twice, and it goes exactly in the same spot, puts a really solid black image on there. It's really cool. So I'm going to go ahead and do a couple of these, and then I'm going to apply my embossing powder after I've done a couple of them. Now you wouldn't want to do like all 6 and then do the embossing powder, because that pigment ink might dry a little bit too much to get a good clear emboss, so you want to still make sure you put the powder on when the ink is still wet. So I trimmed off a little bit of my mask that was going over the side, and it was just bugging me, and now I'm going to go ahead and stamp that adorable Haunted House, and then I'm going to re-ink that up, and I'm going to stamp it again. This was really fun. I never create card sets, but now that I know how easy it is with the MISTI, I'm definitely going to be more inclined to do that. So I'm excited to have kind of a new little tool in my tool bag here that's going to help me make some new creations. So you can see I'm just using that same Simon Says Stamp clear embossing powder. I went out and bought some coffee filters, which was a tip that I've seen in other videos, and I love it for embossing, so you should totally do that. And you can see there how that clear looks once you melt it over the top of the black. It's just going to make everything shiny and make it nice and resist for my background technique. So you just pop that little backing right back on your Unity stamp, and you're good to go. So I just wanted to show you that in case you don't have any of those red rubber stamps yet. So now I'm going to start creating my backgrounds, and I sped through this super quick because I wanted to be able to show you guys all 6 cards. And so I've got this on like turbo speed. I wish that I could distress this quickly, because that would make my life way easier, but I can't. So I'm using the negative of that mask to mask off the sky area while I put distress ink over the checkered ground. And then I am using the same mask that I used for my stamping over the ground when I start doing my sky. So basically these cards turned into like a Technicolor Halloween. Like they're totally like neon bright, non-traditional Halloween colors, and I'm really kind of loving the way that it turned out. And I ended up doing kind of opposites. So like that last one I had the purple ground and then the orange yellow sky. So this one I'm going to have an orange ground with my purple gradient sky. And then for all the distressing in the sky, I'm pretty much just kind of doing an ombre. I'm going from a lighter to a darker. And I'm just wanting to get the ink on there. I'm going to be messing these up real good later, so I'm not super concerned that the blending is perfect. I did use watercolor cardstock because I knew I was going to be doing blending, and I feel like I get the best blend on watercolor cardstock, so I wanted to use that. You can see I started out masking the moon, and that lasted about one card because that little space was way too small and my mask did not want to stay on there. It wasn't sticking to the embossing powder. So I went ahead and ditched that, and I just will improvise with that moon later, and I'll show you how I do that. But I did want to show you guys how fun it is to play with those distressings. I will list all of the colors of distressings that I'm using over on my blog, but I gotta tell you, I can't remember what they all are now. I used so many of them, so I was just playing in my box and trying to dig out some colors. Like I had never used my Twisted Citron, and I had never used my blueprint sketch, so I wanted to bust a couple of those out here. I love this mermaid lagoon, I think it's called, is one of my favorites. And I'm not even a blue person, but for some reason that blue just really is awesome. So this one I wanted to show you, I'm doing the gray black sky, but I only kind of I'm using hickory smoke and then the black soot. So I'm kind of pushing really hard with the black soot at the top to create an extra layer of gradients there. So I did take some gray cardstock and create my card bases. So I have 6 side folding A2 card bases, and while I have my hickory smoke out, I'm just using that to go ahead and distress the edges of those card bases a little bit, just to give them the spooky Halloween vibe too. So I threw that in there. So now I'm going to go ahead and do my last one. So this is going to have a gray base, and then it's going to have a really fun blue background. And I was kind of bummed though my choices, because I'm using Broken China and then that Mermaid Lagoon, and they're actually really similar colors, and I didn't really do any test runs beforehand. Like I said, I was just going. So I probably would have chosen something that contrasted a little bit more, like maybe my Tumbled Glass, but that's fine. It still looks cool. So now I've got all 6 of these, you can see, and then I'm going to take this tinsel spray by Heidi Swap, and rather than spray it, I'm going to actually take out the cap and then use the end and just flick some of this color onto my backgrounds. And this color is really cool. I found with this mist that you have to shake it up really, really good. Like it's almost like a spray paint or a nail polish or something. It's kind of got a glittery shimmer to it, and all of that shimmer kind of settles in the bottom, and there's actually the little ball bearings inside there, so that when you shake it up, it's going to get all that shimmer moving again. And I've used this in the past, and I have not shaken it up right, and I've always kind of wondered, like, what is the deal with this stuff? But when you shake it up really good, it actually looks really, really cool. This is like a charcoal gunmetal gray color. And so I'm just going to go ahead and put a bunch of splatters over all 6 of those. I'm trying my best to keep everything in the frame for you. I am kind of trying to create 6 cards at once, so it was a little tricky to get everything in the frame, but I think we've got enough here that you can get the gist of what's going on. So after I went ahead and did all that, I did off camera use my heat tool to dry those mist spatters, and now I'm just taking some water with some Perfect Pearls mixed in and spritzing some in my hand and then flicking that all over these backgrounds. One property of distressings is that they will wick away almost like bleach when you put water on them. So it's one of my favorite techniques to create a really cool organic looking background. So once that water's on there, just let it sit. The longer you sit, the lighter your spots are going to be. So at least 30 seconds is a good idea, and then the longer you wait, the more white you'll get. And then you just take a paper towel and you just pounce up all that water. And you can see as I'm doing that on the different colors, it's pretty cool. You can see the light color pop through. And then when you've got the Perfect Pearls in it, it leaves not just the white or the lighter color, but a really cool pearly shimmer where all those dots are. So combined with the gunmetal gray pearl shimmer from the mist, and then now the kind of whitish pearl shimmer, I've got this really cool like effect going on. So now I'm trying something new, and it didn't work as well as I wanted it to, but I'm definitely going to try it again. I took some white pigment ink and I smooshed it on an acrylic block, and I added just a couple spritzes of water. And now I'm going to take a paintbrush and kind of swirl that around and just flick it off the side of the acrylic block onto my paintings. And I think that the problem that I had was that I ran out of water and I was too lazy to get up and get more. So I don't think that I had enough ink water mixture on my acrylic block to really get the bigger drops that I was looking for. I've seen other folks use this. Christina Werner is where I got this idea, and it works great, but I kind of got this really fine spray, which is awesome, but it wasn't quite what I was going for. So I will try this again next time when I am feeling like I want to get out of my chair and get more water. So now for those moons, I am going to take my yellow stickles and I'm just going to color over the top in my stickles. And I did that way too early, and you'll see later that I end up wiping some of it off and reapplying it. But that's how I solved the problem of the moon. So now while all those panels are drying, I'm going to prep my sentiment. So this little sentiment also comes in that same little stamp set from Unity, and it says eat, drink, and be spooky. And I just thought it was super fun. And so I'm going to go ahead and stamp that 6 times in the same VersaFine Black Onyx ink. And I did actually stamp it 7 just in case I messed one up. It's always nice to have an extra. And then I'm going to go ahead and heat emboss that in the clear heat embossing also, so that it matches all the other stamping on the card. And then what I'm going to do is I've been really into lately taking my sentiments and breaking them up into individual blocks. I just think it's fun to be able to play with the layout on your card and make it look almost a little bit more mixed media than card. So first I'm just cutting out all of the whole sentiment as a block, and then I'm going to just very carefully with my scissors cut in between each word. So I'm going to do the spooky, the eat, drink, and then and be as all separate blocks. And so now I'm going to go ahead and put those on my card. So first I'm going to hit that panel with my heat tool and just make sure all those splatters that I put everywhere are completely dry before I start trying to glue on top of it. And then for each panel, I'm going to take the color of the ground and I'm going to go ahead and distress the edges of all these little sentiment blocks. So for this one, this is my green and pink panel. I'm going to take my picked raspberry and go ahead and color in all of those little sentiment blocks here so that it coordinates up in the sky with the ground and kind of brings it all together. I just thought it was a super fun way without me having to really think of, I was going to just do black originally, and then I was like, no, why not just stick with my Technicolor neon Halloween theme that I've got going on and just bring that back in. So I'm cleaning my fingers off. That was a baby wipe in between each one, because by now, as I'm sure you can imagine, I am like super inky and everything that I touch is turning into a Technicolor Halloween card. So I was trying to prevent my fingers from squishing all the other ink colors onto my little sentiments here. So now I've got my Zig glue pen, and I'm just going to apply a little bit of glue to the back of all these little sentiment pieces and just glue them on one at a time. I'll be honest with you guys, I had no plan here. I'm just taking these little squares and kind of putting them on there all haphazard and wonky, and each card front is a little bit different. I want them all to, while they are a set of cards and they all have the same stuff on them, I still want them to all have individual personalities. So that is the first one there, and then I'm going to go ahead and skip ahead and show you the end of the last one. So this is the same concept. I'm just going to go ahead and heat set everything, make sure that all the background is dry before I start gluing on top of it. And then I'm going to take my spiced marmalade and go ahead and distress up the sides of those panels here before I stick them on the front. This project was a lot of fun for me to make. It's a little out of my comfort zone. I don't know if you noticed, but I didn't do any coloring on this card, so that was totally like, whoa for me. But it was super fun to do that. You can see I used the other sentiment that comes in the kit to stamp on the inside of the cards, and I went ahead and embossed those too. So now I'm doing the final step, and you can see I dabbed off my gloss or my stickles there because I want to glue this on the front of my card base, and it wasn't dry yet. So I got tired of waiting, so I just dabbed it off with a paper towel, and I'm just going to reapply it later. So I'm just going to use my ATG gun to put some glue all over the back of this panel and then glue it directly on the front of my card. I did find some extra little bats from my Halloween Day 1 project that I had, so I put one on each of the cards, and then I'm taking my multimedia mat and I'm putting little tiny dots, and then I'm going to apply my new favorite thing in the whole world, which are these clear droplets from Pretty Pink Posh. They come in 6mm and 4mm, and they give your card the coolest effect. Like, I just think that they're so neat. They look like little dewdrops. They're awesome. So now I'm going to put that stickles back on there, and it actually looked good because it got to layer on top of the other stickles and it looked more yellow. So that was the last one that I did. I just want to show you guys how sparkly and shimmery this card is when you pick it up. And then I'm going to show you each of the different kind of colors and layouts that I came up with. Every card got a bat and some little Pretty Pink Posh clear droplets here. So I think that when they're all put together, they turned out really super fun in all those Technicolor neon colors. Thanks so much for joining me, you guys. I will be doing day 3 of the series here shortly, so make sure you stay tuned for that. Don't forget to hit subscribe, give me that thumbs up. I'm going to list all the supplies that I've used over at my blog, and you can also join me on Facebook, Pinterest, and Instagram. Here is a link to day 1 of my Handmade Halloween series, as well as another fun Halloween card. Thanks so much, guys. Bye.